Climate change is one of the biggest threats to human life. Over the last 100 years, human activities have had devastating and lasting effects on our planet, initiating a chain of events that threatens to push us right into our sixth global extinction event. The scientific community has come to a consensus, stating that the evidence for climate change is overwhelming. According to NASA, some of the evidence includes an increase in average global temperature, more frequent extreme weather events, and ocean acidification. Scientists attribute the global warming trend observed since the mid-20th century to the human expansion of the greenhouse effect. As greenhouse gases accumulate, they trap heat in the atmosphere, causing a rise in temperature. Some of the gases produced as a result of human activities are methane and carbon dioxide. Methane is produced through decomposition of waste in landfills, agriculture, and manure management associated with domestic livestock. Though it is less abundant in the atmosphere, these small quantities are far more active than carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is released through human activities such as deforestation, land use changes, and burning fossil fuels. Carbon dioxide from human activities is increasing more than 250 times faster than it has historically from natural resources since the last ice age. Humans have increased atmospheric CO2 concentration by 47% since the Industrial Revolution began. This is the most important long-term contributor to global climate change. Global warming contributes to drastic changes in weather patterns. In many parts of the world, we can already see these effects. In warm places such as California and Australia, long-term droughts are creating ideal conditions for massive wildfires on a scale we have never seen before. Weather patterns across the globe are becoming noticeably unpredictable, and this will only get worse. In addition to making large swaths of land virtually unlivable due to extreme temperatures and natural disasters, these changes will lead to a food shortage, as both crops and livestock are unable to survive in a rapidly changing environment. Over the last 10 years, the world has seen an increase in climate refugees, people that are fleeing their homes due to climate change-inducing circumstances. Since the Industrial Revolution, the acidity of surface ocean waters has increased by about 30%. Increased levels of carbon dioxide is responsible for ocean acidification. The ocean has absorbed 20 to 30% of total anthropogenic carbon dioxide emissions in recent decades. That's 7.2 to 10.8 billion metric tons per year. Acidification has also been advanced by toxins from plastics in the ocean. By the year 2060, there will be more plastic in the sea than actual fish, and nearly 1.7 billion people rely heavily on the sea for food and other resources. Plastics can take thousands of years to degrade into a harmless material, and some even contain carcinogens such as bisphenol A or BPAs that can lead to life-threatening diseases such as cancer. Scientists claim that the current extinction rate is 1,000 times the normal rate and may climb up to 10,000 times in the next century.
But wait, isn't climate change an environmental issue? How can something that affects nature have an impact on my liberties?
You're right. Climate change is an environmental issue, but it also affects our human and civil rights. The droughts that accompany global warming are affecting food security. Fluctuating precipitation and the increasing acidity of bodies of water put drinking water supplies at risk. Extreme weather events pose a direct threat to life and health and threaten the destruction of people's homes and businesses. Thus, many of our human rights, such as the right to live, health, food, and an adequate standard of living, are negatively affected by climate change. All of these examples demonstrate a reduction in our accessibility to a quality life. Climate change will undoubtedly infringe on every person's freedom to maintain a healthy way of life. The world's largest and richest countries are the main contributors of carbon dioxide and other pollutants. At the same time, the poorest countries, many of whom are already struggling to support themselves, are having to deal with the very worst effects of climate change, though they are not directly making the largest impact. Let's take a look at a specific example. In Central America, the so-called dry corridor has destroyed up to 80% of the region's crops. The dry corridor is an area stretching between Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador that has experienced the exact weather extremes that we mentioned before: terrestrial rains followed by record-breaking droughts. Food scarcity was already a problem in these countries, and now we are beginning to see how climate change can make an already difficult situation even worse. As a direct consequence of more stable countries polluting to such an extraordinary extent, the countries in the dry corridor have lost the freedom to govern themselves properly. They are forced to deal with this global crisis that they have no way of halting on their own. As of last year, we have reached the point of no return. Anything we do now will only be the beginning towards improving the state of the planet, and we will likely not see the effects of these changes within the next 20 years. We have officially moved beyond the point where individual actions can genuinely turn the tide in any significant way.
So, what can we do?
I know that everything I've explained so far is very disheartening, but don't lose hope. We cannot give up now. The Earth is our home and we can fight for it. You've probably heard of individual ways to mitigate the effects of climate change, like recycling, taking shorter showers, using energy-efficient light bulbs, and many other things. But while all those things can be very helpful, there is something much more powerful that all of us can do that would make a tremendous change. Now, imagine a situation where there's a group of people standing in a room on a hot summer's day. The room's AC is placed on the highest cooling setting until it breaks. At first, only a few people notice, but eventually, the room's temperature begins to rise to the point that everyone is uncomfortable. Instead of calling someone to fix the AC, or trying to find someone in the room that might be able to take a look, they ignore the problem until it's too late and everyone is hot and irritable. Now imagine the same room with the same group of people and the broken AC. Only this time, the people that notice the broken AC point out that it's broken before the temperature gets unbearable. In this situation, the group can work together to solve the problem, whether it be by calling a mechanic or figuring it out themselves. Obviously, this is a pretty simplified example, but it's definitely still applicable to the problem of climate change. When we all work together, we can achieve remarkable things. But it can't just be by the average citizen. We need to hold our governments accountable. The most important way that we as Americans can do this is by becoming more involved in the political process. Using our constitutional right to protest is also a very powerful tool, and if done properly, has historically been instrumental in the expansion of many civil rights. Contacting our representatives at both the local and federal level is an essential part of a representative democracy. Politicians in this country work to serve the people, and it's imperative that we hold them to that. We've provided the contact information for Warren County and Illinois representatives in the description box below. In order to save our planet, there needs to be a strong, unified international response that results in large policy changes. If these things seem a bit daunting to you, that's totally fine. Signing petitions is also a good way to spread the word, and you can find links to petitions in the description box as well. Climate change poses the single greatest threat to our continued existence as a species. Although we cannot control the Earth's processes, we can control what we do while we inhabit it. Earth is on a course to quickly becoming uninhabitable, and unified action is long overdue. After all, there is no planet B.